Good to have you back. I think I just want to discuss building blues lines a little bit. I thought that might be sort of fun because all good rock and roll is rooted in the blues and in thinking from that area. You probably all know the pentatonic scale. Pentatonic scale is a minor scale because it starts with a minor third, right? So it's a minor scale sound, and there's only 5 notes. Pentatonic, 5 notes. All right. Now, but when we play a blues, like when we play a 12-bar blues, we normally would play the 1 chord as a 7th, right? Okay, so that 1 chord, if you want to play a pentatonic against that 1 chord, right? And to a degree, this has to do with stylistic considerations. But if you want to play a pentatonic scale against that 1 chord, you'll notice that the 1 chord has a C sharp in it. And the pentatonic scale does not have a C sharp in it. It has a C natural in it. Now that C natural happens to be the flat 3 of that 1 chord. So then that flat 3 is a common blue note. So it sounds sort of cool. It sounds okay, right? Right? And it becomes a slightly different kind of style when you pick up the C sharp in the chord. Right? So I picked up the 3 in the chord. And all of a sudden, you start to hear the chord being defined. When you define the chord, it begins to sound stylistically a little bit different. So what you're doing is you're honoring the harmony in what your solo is going to be, right? By the way, I inadvertently added the 13 there. Lovely note. We can talk about that a little more later. Okay, 13 is an extension of that A7 chord. Okay, so when we move to the 4 chord, let's say, we'll just use a basic D7. Right, here we have the 1, the 3, the flat 7, and another 1. And we're back to the same minor dilemma, which is I've got a note here in the D7 chord that's an F sharp that is not in my pentatonic scale. There is the F sharp, right? As a matter of fact, if you play that G that's in the pentatonic scale against an F sharp, you're going to get sort of a clashy thing going on because you're only a semitone away from the from this very strong chord tone. So if we let's take that F sharp up an octave, right? And watch what happens when I insert that F sharp. Let's say we'll just do 1 measure of each chord. So A7 to the D7. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I went back to the 1 chord, as you could hear, but you heard what happened when I went to the 4 chord. I defined that F sharp. Right, and I'm defining the seventh, which is in the pentatonic scale. So the idea here is to be able to start with the platform of something you already know, which is the pentatonic scale, and start to refine that pentatonic scale to imply the chord of the moment. Right? So in order to do that, I'm basically just adding the C sharp in this case. In the case of the D chord, I'm adding the F sharp. This creates lines that are way more interesting than just using that 5-note scale and making it, forcing it to work over the other chords, right? Now the same thing goes for the E7, being our 5 chord, and that 5 chord, the third of the 5 chord has a G sharp in it, right? And we can grab that G sharp up here. Right. So there's the G sharp, just up an octave, and it's a note that's in the E7 chord. Let's just do a basic blues. So 1 chord, 2, 3, 4. I think you probably heard the progression, and therein lies the rub. You are hearing the progression. And now this approach doesn't negate what you already know. You know where your pentatonic scale notes are. But when we get to examining the chords that you're playing over, and if you want to define those chords, you have to pick up the notes that are characteristic to each of the chords. In this case, the A, you need to pick up that C sharp. Right. And then D. Right, we need to pick up the F sharp this time. Right. And then when you get to the E, we have an E, a G sharp, right? And we actually have a B in here as well. So picking up the G sharp is probably the most important, but you could also pick up that B as well. And then we're back at the A. Now, if you go online, I'm sure that you'd be able to find lots and lots of material backing tracks in the key of A. And so the idea is to now use a backing track in the key of A. You can move this whole thing down to the key of G if you like, or you can move it up to the key of B flat or the key of C if you like. You can move it around. But find a good 12-bar blues backing track and start to define the notes in the chords, and you're going to end up with lines that are far more interesting and likely a little bit more challenging as well. You've really got to put a new set of ears on and make sure that you are defining those chords and you are defining that chord progression. This, in small steps, starts to move toward playing over changes. And even with something like a basic 12-bar blues, there are variations of 12-bar blues that become more complicated. And the more you can define the chords the more interesting and compatible to the chord progression your solos will sound. Make sure that you know how to spell your chords. You should be able to rattle them off, like in the case of an A, C sharp, and E, and G is the seventh, and so on, right? If this video was helpful to you, like, subscribe. It helps the algorithm immensely. Maybe buy me a coffee. Buy one of my books, which you can get on Amazon. And please leave a question. I get back to all the questions with fairly lengthy answers. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you real soon.